To do our hot takes. Let's go back because this one, we're going to be quite divisive. You and I might clash on this one.
Let's get it.
Okay, so Pavement. By the way, I love your username. It's Pavement and Beer O'Clock and RDR.
Nice.
Which stands for Retro Def Row.
Okay.
Yeah.
Retro Def Row.
Yeah, RDR. Yeah.
I like that.
That's pretty dope.
Pretty cool.
So he said that a game that he considers overrated and boring is Chrono Trigger. Hi, this is Zap, and welcome to the Reset and Zap podcast. Welcome to the Reset and Zap podcast. I am, of course, your host, Zap, and with me is my honorable co-host.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy TeeJay.
And here at the Reset and Zap podcast, it's all about resetting and being in the right mindset for a brand new week.
Okay.
Not only we chatted up about topics like gaming, but we also talk about life, work, and much more.
Oh, let's talk about it then.
Yeah, and speaking about gaming, today we're going to start it off with a thread that I had posted on Twitter, or formerly known as
X. It's X now. It's not Twitter anymore.
I don't know if I want to call it X.
It's X.
I'm not quite ready yet. But I gave the opportunity to the community to express what are some of y'all's hot takes when it comes to games and gaming. Now, it doesn't have to be negative. It's just whatever you feel strongly about.
Okay. So what did the people have to say then?
Well, so Remember64 actually said the following. He said, I don't love being negative, but because it's having a surge right now. The Fallout/Skyrim engine makes those games nearly unplayable for me. It's a shame because the worlds are excellent.
He's not wrong though.
I kind of want to hear more your take on this because I love Fallout, but I haven't really dived fully into Fallout. So what do you think based on, his hot take?
So here's the issue is that those games have a huge, massive open world. Some of the biggest open world games I've ever seen usually have excellent stories, great interactions, great side quests. The problem is that a lot of the times those games are really buggy, especially at launch. If you played any of these games at launch, you're gonna have some issues. And for some people that can kind of take you out of the experience. So it's I can kind of understand, even though I still love those games, I can understand where he's coming from because unfortunately that engine is very buggy. It's a very outdated engine. They've been using pretty much the same engine since Skyrim, which is, I can't even remember when Skyrim came out at this point.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really changed that much. So when Fallout 76 came out and they were doing, that whole mess that came out with that, and it's the same engine. Same engine that they use for Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout 4. It hurts my feelings, but he ain't wrong. I can't even be mad at him because you play that game and then all of a sudden you just fall through the world or something like that. We're talking game-breaking bugs. Bugs so bad that you'll have to restart the whole game.
It might crash or just won't boot up correctly. And I now speaking about this, I think a game that proved this hot take is Starfield. Oh
my God. I tried to like that game so bad, but it just, it was rough. It was rough. It was definitely rough.
And speaking about hot takes, there's another hot take here. This one is from Thousand Star, and he said, which I was completely unaware of this because I didn't know. But he said Rosalina used to be a heavy character, was considered a heavy character in Mario Kart for the Wii. And he considers her to be the best character in the franchise.
Yeah, because it was, I don't know if they did it purposely or if it was a mistake, but she basically was in the same weight class as Bowser and Donkey Kong. So she would hit those characters as little as Rosalina is. She would hit Bowser and send him flying off the screen because she was technically in the same weight class as them.
That is crazy.
Yeah, Bowser, Donkey Kong, any of the big bulky characters, they were she had the same weight class as them. It was very interesting.
That is so interesting. I didn't know about this because I didn't own a Wii, so I missed out on Mario Kart for that console.
Yeah, Mario Kart Wii was actually pretty fire too. I actually agree with that one.
So speaking of hot takes, guys, that is what we're discussing on this episode. So for our stop segment, we're going to be reacting to the community's hot takes in regards to games or gaming in general. Okay. And then after this, we're going to transition into pause, where of course we're going to give y'all a shout out, but we got some other things we want to, bring into the spotlight. So I'm not going to reveal it just yet. You just have to stay tuned because it's going to be really, really good.
All righty.
Ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
All right, guys, let's start off with this stop segment. And as we mentioned earlier, this is the time for you, the listener, to drop your hot takes because we're going to continue compiling some of your hot takes. Remember, it doesn't have to be negative. It's just something you feel strongly about when it comes to games in general or gaming.
Okay. All right.
And of course, towards the end of this segment, you and I are going to drop some of our hot takes.
Okay.
And I think I know where you're going with it, but, I'm not going to.
I might surprise you.
Really?
Might surprise you.
Okay. All right. But going back to Thousand Star, because he actually is not done. He wanted to expand a little bit more about this whole theory about Rosalina being the heavy character.
Okay.
So I had gone back and forth with him because this blew my mind. I was like, Rosalina considered a heavy character back for the Wii. I'm like, this is I don't believe it. Because she's so little. She's so little. But Thousand Star said, yeah, for some reason she was considered a heavy character and it was cool. But then somehow they fixed it on Mario Kart 8 then they put her as a mid character like Peach.
Yeah.
So he doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that change. Should have kept her as a heavy. Honestly, I think they should have kept her as a heavy. Why can't a female character be heavy?
So what's the difference? Because, as much as I've played Mario Kart, I'm not really a pro into kind of noticing those changes. So what is the change between a heavy character to a mid character?
It would be easier if I just explain the weight class system in general.
Gotcha.
So typically how it works is, let's say you have a light character. I think light characters are like Toad and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
They're usually faster because they're lighter. Okay. But they are more easily knocked around because they're light. So if a mid or a heavy character hits them or bumps into them, they tend to, move a little bit more because they have less weight. But they're typically faster because they're carrying less weight.
Gotcha.
Mid character is usually in the middle. They got medium weight, medium speed. So they're usually not as fast as the light characters, but they can take a little more hit and not be bounced around quite as much.
So they're more stable.
Yeah.
They're kind of like you're more balanced.
Yeah, they're like your balance. There's usually your Marios, your Peaches.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
And then you have your heavy characters, which would be like Bowser, Donkey Kong, who may not move quite as fast because they're heavier. Mm-hmm. But if you hit a character with a heavy character, that character's going to go flying.
Gotcha.
So when Rosalina was a heavy, she was able to knock around all the bigger characters and all the little characters. But then as she moves to a medium, now doesn't quite have that pushing power that she would have had if she was still considered a heavy class.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of just like reality. You know what I'm saying? You get a small, lighter car, it can move faster because it's smaller and lighter. But if somebody was to bump into that car, that little thing
is more prone to having an accident.
Yeah.
Just because of it.
So you get a bigger, heavier car. It's not going to move quite as fast as a lighter car. But if somebody bumps into you, you might not even move,
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it's things that I had noticed while I was playing, but I guess I didn't know how to put it into words. I didn't know this is a mid character. This is a
I don't think they
character.
explicitly say it in the games. It's just kind of implied. Mm-hmm. I don't think they specifically say, "Oh, this is a heavy character. This is a."
Yeah, because for me, and I think you guys comment because I want to see if I can prove this theory. But for me, like you said, that's not really explained openly. So I'm not really choosing I'm going to choose this character because it's a heavy character or it's a mid character. I just choose a character because that's a character I like.
Yeah.
And I just want to play as that character.
And that's how most people play. Only people that really go into the meta of the game like that are the people who are like more competitive.
Gotcha.
Which would make sense why Thousand Star would know that kind of stuff. Because he is a competitor.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
He pretty much competes at every game that he plays. Mario Kart, fighting
games. You cannot
games.
take a game and just play it casually.
Nah, he likes to compete, man. That's his thing.
So is that the hot take?
Yeah.
The Thousand Star just doesn't know how to chill?
Yeah, he doesn't know how to chill. Gotta compete. Squad!
But speaking of competitive games, there's another comment here that said, and they said the following. It says, Streets of Rage 4 is the best beat 'em up of all time, following up with Shredder's Revenge as second place. They added to this, and I'm gonna pass that to TeeJay over there.
Okay.
I don't know much about this game. It said Streets of Rage 3, the Japanese region gameplay, is better than Streets of Rage 2, but Streets of Rage 2 music is legendary. So they let's just put it this way. He shared 4 hot takes. So let's start with the first one.
Start with number 1.
Yeah.
Streets of Rage 4 is the greatest beat 'em up of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Disagree.
Ooh.
I'm gonna have to. I understand why they would say that because it is a good game. It is very good. But if I go to my personal list of favorite beat 'em ups of all time, it would not be Streets of Rage 4.
Okay.
But it would be a Streets of Rage game.
Okay, so which one is your favorite?
In my opinion, I think Streets of Rage 2 is the greatest beat 'em up of all time. And I do agree with their take on the music. Streets of Rage 2 music is absolutely legendary. I've actually done a remix from Streets of Rage 2. Gotcha. It's one of the first remixes I've ever done, actually. Mm-hmm. And the music is legendary in that game. But I also think that the gameplay itself is the best. I think it has the best roster of characters. And I think there's not a down moment in it. I think Streets of Rage 2 might be my favorite beat 'em up of all time.
Interesting. And he did say that Streets of Rage 3, the Japanese region gameplay, is better than Streets of Rage 2.
Well, that I can't argue on because I've never played Streets of Rage 3, the Japanese version. I've only played the American version.
Gotcha.
So I've never played the Japanese version. So maybe that's something I need to try.
And then
maybe I could try to I'll try the Japanese version and then we'll come back and tackle that again.
And then compare it.
But for right now, I would say favorite beat 'em ups, Streets of Rage 2, and also my another one that's really, really close for me is TMNT Turtles in Time.
Gotcha. Which follows up with what he said. He considers Shredder's Revenge in second place as the best beat 'em up of all time.
You know what? I'll take that. I'll accept that.
Shredder's Revenge is the newest one, right?
Yeah,
the one we played.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the one where they added all the new DLC and all that stuff. It's pretty much if Turtles in Time was made in a modern era. So I can see why they would say
That's
that.
what I was going to say.
Because it has that same feel of Turtles in Time, but it's just more modern.
Gotcha.
So I can agree with that one.
Yeah, and we've actually live streamed it and got to play because it's one of our community's favorite games when it comes to community night streams. And every time we've played it, we've had such a blast playing it.
Thanks.
And everybody has their favorite go-to characters, and it just has so many different moves. There's really a learning curve to it, at least for me.
Oh yeah, actually, I got to live stream this with Thousand Star and Katetsu on a Thousand Star stream. Well, we got together. I think it was one random Sunday. We all just jumped on and played together online, and Thousand Star decided to stream it, and the three of us got to play. We played through the whole game together, and it was great.
The fact that it runs so smoothly.
It was flawless. Flawless online.
Usually
no stutters, no slow down. It was like we were all playing in the same living room. It really was.
Yeah.
And then we were all on our headsets because we were all playing it from Xbox. And we all had our headsets on and we were talking and streaming, and it was like we were all playing in the same place at the same time. Couldn't tell the difference of it.
I agree because usually some games, they don't do a very good job with online play. They want to incorporate it, but once you have people pitch in, it starts stuttering and you see frame drops or it just bounces you completely off of the servers, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know?
Yeah, the Shredder's Revenge nailed the online. It is absolutely flawless.
And I think you can play up to. I don't remember up to how many.
I think it's up to 6, I think.
Maybe up to 6, maybe?
I think it's 6. It's either 4 or 6. I can't remember.
Yeah, so I've always had a blast because when my community bounces into just playing with us on during community night streams, we always have like a full crew.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a short and sweet game. Like every time I've played it, I've been able to go through it. Like maybe we finish it in around 3.5 hours, 4 at
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But it's just so much fun. Like I've played it probably like 3 or 4 times already, and I'm still not tired. Like I'm not bored. I can easily jump into that game anytime.
It has a lot of replayability because of all the different characters, and then later on they added even more characters.
Yeah.
And each character has their own specific moves that are different. So every time you play with a different character, you get a different feel. So I think the stages are really well done. There's some secrets here and there that you can find if you pay attention, and so there's always more things. Then there's like achievements and goals you can hit.
That's what I was gonna bring up. That there's achievements and then challenges, and those challenges are sometimes so hard to complete.
Yeah.
Like some of them are like ridiculously hard. Like don't get, touched or
don't take any damage or defeat the boss using some special, like only special moves or something like that. Like it's there's always something left to do depending on how deep you want to go. But it's also one of those games where if you just want to jump on and just play, you could just do that too. So it's like it's one of those games, one of those quick pick up and just play type of games.
Which, by the way, the person who actually talked about this, I was trying to hide his name, but Thousand Star.
Okay, now that you say this Thousand Star, it makes a sense. He absolutely loves Streets of Rage 4.
I was trying to cover up for you, bro.
Now I get it. Me and him have actually had this discussion before. He says 4, I say 2. But yeah, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. He loves Streets of Rage 4.
Thousand Star, I'm still counting on that 5-star rating. But anyway.
Even though you're wrong, Streets of Rage 2 is better.
But we have Trinity P, and he actually she actually comment the following. Difficult does not equal to a game being good, and easy does not equal to a game being bad. And I have to pitch in on this. I 100% agree with this hot take.
I don't even say that's a hot take. I just say that's just
a statement in general.
That's just a general statement that is true.
Yeah, I just think that.
Don't get me.
That's why I want to pitch in on this. I think
you start because I'm gonna start.
I think because within our community we have different types of players. Like you just said it yourself. We have our casual gamers, we have our hardcore gamers, we have our completionists, and we have people that are not gamers at all, that are just newbies. They're just jumping into gaming, and sometimes you have these elitist groups, that can, because they're accustomed into playing games in a certain way and within certain settings, they just think that that's the only way a game should be played. And I think a lot of it stems from back in the 90s when, people would say like Nintendo hard games, or
NES hard.
Yeah, NES hard, and if you played it that way, then that's how you consider yourself, being initiated as a true gamer. But sometimes people want to be able to wake up the next day without a headache and just have a good time. There's people like me that are moms raising kids where our time is limited, and we want to have the best experience and not stress out more than what we already have to deal with in real life. So
facts.
I usually like to play my games depending what game it is. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like if I'm playing Resident Evil, my first run, I'll usually play it in easy mode. And that's because I just want to enjoy the story. So I'm all about the story. I'm all about that lore. And I'm just fascinated with that idea. But then once I complete my first playthrough, then I might go to normal. But then in that case, it's just me like trying to complete achievements or trying to unlock stuff because I'm already aware of the story. So now I can focus more on the gameplay.
Yeah.
And that's how I tackle my games. And there are certain games that I just won't play in hard mode or even in normal mode because they're just ridiculously hard and I don't want to be stressing out. So an example of that for me was Cuphead.
Oh, yeah.
Because Cuphead, you only have two options. You can only play in easy mode, and then you had your, I think it was normal or hard. I can't remember. So I played easy, and the only difference is that they just shorten the boss fights.
Okay.
But you're still having to figure it out, you know? So it's not like you're taking the cheat code. It's just you're not going to have a more lengthy boss fight, you know?
Right.
So, but you're still having to play it. Like, even on easy mode, Cuphead is ridiculously hard.
Yeah, it's a game about memorization.
So, you know, that's me. What about you?
Oh, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. People who hate on other people for playing games in certain mode, I think is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, why do you care what mode somebody else is playing the game in, first of all? Yeah. That's my thing. And just like this person said, Trinity P, just because a game is hard doesn't make it good. And this is one of my biggest gripes with the Dark Souls series. At the top of that being the one that won't surprise you, Elden Ring. Everybody's like, oh, this is the greatest game. Oh, this just goes so good. And I'm like, it's okay. Just because it's hard. Like, people like it's just challenging, and it's like, that doesn't make it good though.
Exactly.
It's pretty much just like any other open world action RPG. It's just more difficult. And when we talk about difficulty, I have two different thoughts on that. The first thought being is, why is it difficult?
True.
There's what I call fake difficulty, and then what I call real difficulty. Fake difficulty is the bosses just have a lot of health and do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It's not really hard. It's just they're purposely like, it's just, oh, he hits you 2 or 3 times and you're dead. Yeah. Or he has so much health that it takes hours to defeat it. Like, I don't consider that to be true difficulty. Now, a boss fight where the health and damage is fair, but you have to do certain challenges or, be, really good with your controls and, dodge and movements and stuff like that. I call that real difficulty. And I find that in a lot of these Dark Souls games, and I know people are going to feel a certain way about the way I say this, a lot of those games have fake difficulty, where the bosses just do a lot of damage. You take 2 or 3 hits and you're dead. And I'm like, how do you really and then the only way for you to really beat it is just to learn. Like, all right, now I have to learn how to dodge every attack, never to get hit ever. I can only get hit twice, and I only got this amount of healing, so I got to memorize how he attacks, how he moves. I'm like, that's not really, I think people forget that video games are supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And for some people, maybe that is fun, but for me, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not fun to just be like, oh, 1, 2, 3, all right, you're dead. That doesn't give me time to learn and actually strategize and fight. That's why I think fighting, like a perfect example of real difficulty, I would say are more like fighting games. Where it's like, okay, everybody has an even playing field. Everybody can pick whatever character they want. All characters have the same health. Different characters do different damage, but if you want to pick a character that does more damage, you can. Or you pick a character that does less damage, you can. But everybody pretty much has an even playing field to play on, and it's all about the skill involved. So that is fair. Whereas in some of these boss fights, it's like, okay, if you didn't know that when he does this thing, it takes off half of your health bar, then it's like, oh, then you just die. Like, those games are more about repetition. It's more about, all right, we're going to fight over and over and over and over again until I learn every single thing that this boss does. And then once I do that, then I can win. And it's more about memorization. It's like, all right, I got to just remember all of his moves, what they do, how to avoid them, and then I'll win. But it expects you to die several. Like, in these games, it is like you're going to die. Like, that's just, there's no way. You're just going to die no matter what you do. So just get used to seeing the death screen, get used to seeing the game over screen. And for me, I think that's not fun.
Yeah. I can see that, and I want to go even deeper, and this is my hot take in regards to this.
Let's get it.
Which I'm glad that we're discussing it, in this segment, because I feel like it should be more openly discussed within the gaming community. And let's go back to like NES games. My biggest pet peeve with it of being quote unquote difficult is that in reality these games were short, and to compensate for it being short games, they just kind of tweaked the difficulty to be like, just, I like to call this overinflated, like they just.
Honestly, I would say a lot of those games those NES hard games were fake difficulty.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it, like you said, it's more so about memorization. So whoever is good at it can go through those games a lot more quicker. But somebody who's just wanting to play and is not really trying to memorize a pattern or try to be like, I gotta step on this one pixel right here and I cannot move, because if not, this bullet is just gonna come over here and I need to dodge this way, or it's too much. And I guess for me, it's one of the reasons why I personally, and I'm not saying it's a bad genre, but I personally don't play a lot of like platform games, because the majority of it is precisely memorization, and I'm more so of just going out and exploring and taking my own time and figuring things out. And so maybe it's not my cup of tea. I'm not saying it's a bad genre. There's people who love it. You are one of those.
I love me a good platformer.
But I guess it just kind of depends for me. But that's my take when it comes to NES games and in regards to difficulty.
Yeah. And now that you say that, I think it all boils down to this. There are different types of gamers out there. Some people, like, I've noticed that like people who tend to like harder games tend to be more on the competitive side. Like a lot of guys that play fighting games love Elden Ring. They love Elden Ring because
does he like it? Hold on.
I don't know if he's ever. I have to ask him about it. I don't know if he's ever played that, but like I've noticed that like those kind of people like love, like he likes games like Overwatch, which is another competitive game, and they tend to like those games that have more challenge and more difficulty because they're used to. If you're really good at fighting games, then that's just you're in it. You have a different kind of mindset and a different kind of personality. Some people are more casual, where they just want to play a game just to have fun. And I think both people should be allowed to play the same game and have fun. But certain games just don't allow that. Like I said, that's my real gripe with the Souls games in general, is that there really is no difficulty levels. It's just either you're going to play the game the way we want you to play it, or you're not going to play it.
Gotcha.
And I think that's the problem. Is that I think the games are interesting. I think they're dope, but I don't want to have to become the best like no one ever was just to be able to play it. I would love to play the games just to get the story and get involved in the world and all that stuff, but they don't really give you an option for that. It's just you have to play this game at this level no matter what. There is no easy way. You just got to do it. And I think that's a little bit unfair, and I think that drives some people away.
Yeah.
You'll have your hardcore audience that will absolutely love your game and will buy every single one that comes out. But you're missing out on an audience that thinks your game looks amazing and thinks the stories are interesting, but they don't have the time to invest or even want to invest in the difficulty level.
Which I've heard quite a bit within the community space, especially people who, like us, we're just in a different phase in life, and we don't have much time to invest in these games, because the more modern games keep getting longer and longer and longer, and I'm starting to hear people being like, I like arcade games, or I'm going back to retro games, or I'm going back to that, shorter, quicker experiences, because, well, that's the only thing I kind of like, or I'm enjoying more.
Man, this is really, because that's kind of flowing into my hot take. Ooh. But I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna wait. But this is, like I said, it's not gonna, because the Elden Ring thing, I'm pretty sure is what you thought I was gonna talk about for my hot take. But no, I actually have a different one.
Okay.
I have a different one.
Let's continue. We got another viewer here, and his name is Hunter.
Hey,
and
Hunter.
his hot take is Gen 4 of Pokemon was the peak. I can't say anything because I've never really played
Gen 4
Pokemon.
I get where he's coming from. I do understand, because the problem with Pokemon is that it stuck to the same formula for a very, very long time. Like, the games pretty much all have that same kind of flow. Where it's like, all right, you start this, you have your 8 gyms, you go beat the gyms, you fight the gym leaders, you go to the Elite Four, you beat the Elite Four, you beat the game. And if you want to be a completionist, you catch all the Pokemon. And that's pretty much been the entire formula for pretty much all of it.
Is it safe to say that Pokemon is the one that initiated the whole monster collecting genre? Or is there
not created it, but I will say they popularized it.
Gotcha.
They're probably the ones that, because there were definitely games before that. There was stuff like Monster Rancher, and I don't know if Digimon was first or Pokemon was first or not, but there were a lot of other games that did it, and I'm pretty sure Pokemon wasn't the first.
Interesting.
But it was the one that had the most popularity around it.
Okay.
I will say that. But the formula kind of dried. After about 4 games, you're like, all right, this is kind of the same thing over and over again. Okay. So I can see somebody getting to the 4th game and being like, all right, I'm done. Like, this is the best it's ever been, and they're just gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again. I will say that in more recent years, now that they're starting to switch up the formula, it's starting to get better. Like with the one that I've talked about this game several times at this point.
That I need to play.
That you really need to play.
Yeah.
Pokemon Arceus, there is no gyms. They completely got rid of the gym leader thing. So it's not even about, that game isn't necessarily even about battling. It's more about exploring the open world and finding these creatures and like capturing them and studying them and doing research and building up your base and, side quests. It's more of an open world action adventure game than it is, I would call it a turn-based RPG. Pokemon is basically just like a turn-based RPG. Where it's like but it just has the monsters you collect are basically your characters, and all the battles are turn-based. It's just that person goes, you go, that person, you go. And it's very linear at that too. It's like, all right, you go here, 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 you go here. For the most part, there are some games where you can kind of branch off, but it's pretty much linear. It's like you can't go to the end until you get all of the 8 badges. You may be able to get the badges in different orders, but at the end of the day, you still got to get all the badges to get to the end of the game.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty linear. Whereas with Arceus, it's very open-ended. You can pretty much just do side quests if you want to and just run around and just do stuff. You can follow the main storyline and do that stuff. There's the research stuff you can do. There's the base building stuff you can do. So it's like it's not really a set path to get to the end of the game. So I think that made the formula interesting. And then with the most recent Pokemons, now I can't think of the name of it. Scarlet and Violet, they went more open world with that too, where now you can, from the very beginning, you can tackle all the gyms in any order that you want. And you can explore different areas of the world that you want. And I feel like as they keep tweaking that formula, Pokemon will get a lot better than it was.
So are you suggesting that, the older titles, the gameplay was in a way a bit stale?
I would definitely say if you started with Pokemon from the beginning and you played the first game and then you played the second game and then you played the third game and then like this person said you get to the 4th game, you're like, it's kind of the same. It's not like they add new mechanics and they add new like skills and new Pokemon and all that kind of stuff, but the overall gameplay pretty much remained the same, even past 4. Like I would say all the way up until like, when did they really start switching it up? I would say not until Sword and Shield, which that is probably a hot take because most people hate Sword and Shield, but I feel like that's the first game where they really like tried to do something different.
Interesting.
And it didn't go too well. But then they did Arceus after that, which did better, and then Scarlet and Violet. I feel like they're trying to find their new space. I think from going from handheld to console is really what kind of like is spicing things
that
up a bit.
transition.
Because now they have to, like, on a handheld game, you're limited. So it's like, all right, so this is how we can make a game within these limitations.
Gotcha.
And you don't have to change so much because you can only do but so much. But now that they're on the Switch, and that is technically a console,
yeah,
they have more options, more power, more graphical ability, more storage space.
can become a problem.
Yeah, so now they're like forced to be like, all right, now we gotta, like, we can't just do the same thing we did in Pokemon's, generations 1 through 4, because you're gonna put that on the Switch and you're gonna be like, what is this? Like, what's going on here? So now they're being forced to kind of try to find a new identity in a 3D like space kind of a thing. So I can understand why somebody would say after Generation 4 things kind of fell off.
Yeah.
But I feel like give them a couple more, give them another year or two. I think they're gonna come out with a banger pretty soon.
Okay, so now for this part, I need you to prepare mentally, because this might trigger you. So just remember that we not all share the same opinions. Okay. But I actually kind of want to dive in. So we're gonna kind of tag team this one because I have my own experience now with it, so I can also talk about it. So let's just breathe for a minute. Because I know as soon as I start reading this. But I'm going to read like several comments in a row because I found it fascinating, and it was a very interesting conversation. Okay. So the Wolfman, which thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, Wolfman.
He says Ocarina of Time is boring and overrated. And let's read some of the stuff that he actually participated, when I was doing this thread. So Crooked Does Stuff, which thank you so much for participating. He kind of joined in and he said, legitimately, only it's considered the best game because people have some sort of nostalgia for it, especially people who played it as their first Zelda. So I went ahead and asked, I said, interesting take. Do you mind expanding on what was your experience with Ocarina of Time and why you feel this way? Okay. So Wolfman actually said, I didn't play it as a kid and have been trying to get through it, and it feels more like a chore than fun. So, he's playing it as an adult. Okay. Crooked Does Stuff says once again, he says for a 3D Zelda, he would put it in the top 3. He said, I'll give it that, but when it comes to the series as a whole, it's probably in the bottom of the top 5, and that's only because so many Zelda games are just Ocarina again.
Okay. Actually, that didn't trigger me as much because I actually 50% agree.
Okay.
Boring? Nah. I don't. That part I don't agree. I don't think that game is boring. Overrated? I actually do agree.
Okay.
Ocarina of Time is not one of the best. It's not. If you look at, like the other person said, if you look at the series as a whole, Ocarina of Time probably actually would not be in my top 5.
Okay.
Because everybody knows, TeeJay, he's the Zelda guy. He loves Zelda, blah, 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 blah. What's your favorite?
Mainly why I wanted to ask.
Yeah, everybody's always like, what's your favorite Zelda game? And I'll always have the same response.
Gotcha.
Are we talking best in the series, or are we talking about my favorite? Because those are two different things to me. My favorite would include nostalgia and my experience and when I played it and all that kind of stuff. Best in the series would just be which one I think is mechanically the most fun, the best game, the best mechanics, whatever. Those are two different answers.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as my favorite, Ocarina of Time is pretty high up there for me. Okay. It would be 2. My favorite would be actually Wind Waker. I love the Wind Waker.
Gotcha.
But overrated, I will say that. I will say that Ocarina of Time is a very important Zelda game.
Because of the timeline, I'm assuming.
Not even the timeline, just for the game in general. Like, Ocarina of Time was the basis for pretty much every 3D Zelda game after that.
Oh, okay. kind of like Mario is the standard for.
Yeah, like Mario 64 kind of created 3D platformers. Like it was the pinnacle of that. And for the Zelda series, that's what Ocarina of Time is. Like that one person said, every other game has tried to be Ocarina ever since then. And then for somebody playing it as an adult and then from a kid, I can understand why they would maybe not have as much fun as it. Because gaming has evolved so much since Ocarina of Time that there are so many more advancements since then.
Yeah.
Like camera-wise. Like Ocarina of Time doesn't have the best camera. But this is early. You have to remember that this game is early in 3D gaming.
N64,
so they were still learning how to make an efficient camera.
Gotcha.
But playing it now, the camera's a bit rough. The targeting is a bit rough.
The controls
can be a bit rough.
Because it was, I mean, let's face it was the N64 controller.
What I would say, and which is what you did actually, if you really want to try Ocarina of Time and have a good experience, you should actually play the 3DS version.
Which is where I want to pitch in. That's why I said I wanted to talk about it.
That would be my question is like, are you playing the N64 version or are you playing the 3DS version? Because I would say anybody in the modern era who wants to play Ocarina of Time should not play the N64 version.
Yeah.
They should actually play the 3DS version because it is the definitive version of the game, in my opinion.
It is because when you complete the first playthrough, it has included, what is it called? I think the Master Quest.
Master Quest, yep. Which is something that came out later on the GameCube where they had the Ocarina of Time Master Quest like dual disc thing. So they just took that and remade it into the new Ocarina of Time engine they did for the 3DS. I think the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time is the far superior version of the game.
Yeah, because I understand Wolfman because I've played a lot of games now. I'm kind of in that phase right now as an adult because a lot of people assume that I've played games that that are mainstream wise are very popularized, but like for me, I've never played those games, and Zelda was one of them. So playing Ocarina of Time for the first time, I got to play it as an adult, not as a kid. So me having a 3DS, owning the 3DS, I went ahead and played the 3DS version, and I have to agree 100%, like control wise, it's a much more smoother, because they updated it, and experience wise, I was completely fascinated and blown away by everything they were able to do. Yeah. And so I have much more appreciation because knowing where it came from and how it started, I'm like, wow, they actually managed to do so much and package it so well. And there's still things I haven't completed. Like I know there's a bunch of like secret stuff you can do. There's like forums, people just keep telling you about so many other stuff that I didn't even know existed in the game. So if I wanted to, I can go back and play it again. And I think my experience would be even like, I dare say, completely different from my first one, just because I'm going to probably want to tackle it in a very different way.
Yeah, I think Ocarina of Time for its time did something amazing, but you have to realize that it was in its time. We're talking about a game that came out on the N64. Like it's a very, very old game. And I am actually super impressed what they were able to do on the 3DS. Like graphically.
And you got to see me play it.
Mm-hmm. Graphically, it looks way better than the N64, and we're talking on the 3DS. They were able to fit that entire game onto a 3DS cartridge and improve it, make the controls better. They tweak some of the gameplay elements to make things a little easier and easier to understand and to follow. And I would say for anybody trying to get into Ocarina of Time, I would say definitely if you have a 3DS, play it on the 3DS because it's a much better experience. I don't think Ocarina of Time stood the test of time, Gotcha. It's one of those games that in its time, it was groundbreaking and revolutionary, but trying to play it now, you're gonna compare it to games that you play now where the cameras are much better and controls are much better and, direction, a lot of the modern games, a lot of those older games that weren't like built to like kind of point you in a direction. It was more like explore and figure it out. And in the modern era, that's not really as much of a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, it really depends on what kind of gamer you are and the era that you're playing in. So somebody, I'm not even mad at that. I can understand why somebody would say that it was overrated.
So what would you consider? I know that changes over time, but what would you consider to be the best game of all time in your own personal opinion?
The best Zelda game? Just purely talking about mechanics, fun, replayability, all of that, I'm gonna go with Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Breath of the Wild. And the reason I say that, and some people are like, oh, why not Tears of the Kingdom? That's the newer one. But I would say that it's tricky. Tears of the Kingdom definitely took the Breath of the Wild formula and tweaked it and perfected it.
Interesting.
I will say that. But it's something about that, once again, you can't get away from nostalgia, you can't get away from feelings, is that the first time you boot Breath of the Wild is, all right, here we go.
Ugh.
Here we go.
I feel like something's coming.
Breath of the Wild is the Ocarina of Time of the modern era. What Ocarina of Time did for Zelda back on the N64 days
is what Breath
of the Wild did for Zelda in the modern era.
See, I can't speak on behalf of Breath of the Wild because I have yet to play Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
You should. It's pretty dope. Breath of the Wild basically Breath of the Wild took, because like that person said before, Ocarina of Time, after that, every other game was pretty much trying to be Ocarina of Time. Trying to recreate that nostalgia, because, I mean, whether you like it or not, Ocarina of Time was one of the best selling Zelda games of all time. Like, that game sold buku crazy numbers. So Nintendo was like, hey, we trying to get them numbers. So let's try to, take that and improve it. And they, some of the other games did that. Like Wind Waker took that same formula. Twilight Princess. They all took the open world formula that Ocarina of Time created and perfected it. Which is why I can see why some people would say that there are better games than Ocarina of Time. Because there are, but they are still based on Ocarina of Time.
Gotcha.
Breath of the Wild took that Ocarina of Time formula and threw it out the window.
Interesting.
That's the first time Nintendo was like, look, it's time to get away from Ocarina of Time.
We're doing a whole new thing.
And let's do something completely different. Complete open world.
Yeah.
Different weapon system. Like at first, Link could only use a sword. That was it.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, you get spears and bows and swords and great swords, and you can make your weapons. You can fix, like then Tears of the Kingdom took that to the next level where you can like craft your weapons and build specific weapons with different effects. And they took that formula and just said, we're going to do something completely different now.
Interesting.
We're going to get rid of all the traditional stuff from Ocarina of Time. We're actually going to get back to the core of Zelda, because I would say Breath of the Wild is more similar to the original Legend of Zelda, where they literally just drop you into a map and say, do your thing.
Okay.
That's what the original Zelda did. Literally, like the game just starts, the map opens up, and you, go.
Gotcha.
Figure stuff out. And that's what Breath of the Wild does. A little more neatly, where it's like they give you like a little tutorial area, and then once you complete your little tutorial area, it's up to you.
So they have your training grounds, and then once you feel safe, you can kind of wander off.
You can stay in that tutorial area as long as you want to. It's literally like an island that's separated from the rest of the map. And you can just run around there, and that will teach you all the mechanics and everything of the game. And once you get to a certain point, you're free to just go wherever and do whatever you want to do. So I feel like Breath of the Wild just took that Ocarina of Time formula and threw it out the window. So it's a more important game to the current franchise. And then they're basically doing the same thing they did before. Now Tears of the Kingdom said, okay, I'm going to take that Breath of the Wild formula and I'm going to do more with it. So even though Tears of the Kingdom may be a better game, it would not exist if it wasn't for Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild had to be like, okay, let's be bold and do something different. And then Tears of the Kingdom say, okay, now how can we take this new thing and make it even better?
So it sounds like Nintendo's trying to adapt to the more modern times and trying to see where they want to go with it.
Breath of the Wild brought Zelda into the modern era. It definitely did.
But stay tuned, guys, because we got a game that if you thought Ocarina of Time is boring and overrated, you might be triggered with this upcoming one. But you know what we got to do? We got to fast forward because we got bills to pay.
We got some bills to pay?
We got bills to pay. Why don't you pick up the phone so we can see what's up? Yeah.
Hello? Who's this?
Yeah, but today we have a sponsor brought to you only by www.ZapCristal.com.
I was wondering where you was going with this, dog. I was really like, is she about to drop a surprise on me, like right in the middle of the podcast and the recording? By the way, this was not planned at all. I was like, is she about to tell me we got a sponsor and didn't even tell me? Bro.
I love how you did it. Yeah, but... Yeah.
Anyway, let me do this. All right, hold on. Hello? Oh, this is ZapCristal.com? The one-stop shop for all things ZapCristal? Oh, you mean you can join the email list? And then you can get emails straight from ZapCristal herself? And you can find out about all her music and all her videos and the podcast all in one place? What is this place called?
Yeah.
ZapCristal.com? Oh, that is absolutely amazing. I'm glad that you called me and told me about this. So if I just go to www.ZapCristal.com, I can find out everything about all things ZapCristal? Well, I appreciate your call. Thank you. You have a nice day.
Wow. I'm checking it out right now. It looks really interesting.
Yeah, there you go. You really caught me off guard. You really got me with that. That is the first time I think you've ever really caught me off guard.
I did a good job there.
Because I'm an improv king, okay? That's usually my territory. You did, okay. Well done.
So yeah, guys, don't forget to join our email list. We drop monthly newsletters. We keep you posted with everything I'm doing within the music world, the podcast. We have a beautiful page just dedicated to the podcast, by the way. You guys should check it out. And if you want to become a sponsor, just make sure to check out the page. We even have a buy me a coffee. And when you buy me a coffee as a viewer, you can drop a comment, and who knows, your comment might be highlighted in the next podcast episode. But speaking of buy me a coffee, we have a supporter who also needs to pay some bills because from Master Sword Music, he dropped a comment saying that he is truly 100% a supporter of the podcast in general.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. So my question is, what does the Master Sword Music have to bring to the table?
Well, for those of you who don't know, we also have a website, masterswordmusic.com, where you can find out about all things Master Sword Music. You can find out about all the artists, which includes our lovely Miss ZapCristal over here, and all the other Master Sword Music artists. You can find links to all of our social medias, all of our music. You can see some videos. You can also go to the MSM CD shop, which we currently have available 2 albums that you can purchase and get a physical copy of for all you physical collectors out there. We have Our Love Journey, which is the newest album.
Hold up. The phone is ringing. Hold up. Give me the phone.
The phone's ringing? Okay, hey, Joe, you can answer that.
Hold up. Hey, girl, what's up? Yeah, I'm doing a podcast right now. Oh, girl, you interrupted me right now. What's that? You don't say. You went to the CD shop right now? Girl, I'm telling you, you need to pick up All About You. Yeah, it is a jam. TeeJay. Yeah, that's my man, by the way. Just making that clear. But you can pick up the CD. Yeah.
This woman I married, I swear.
And then ZapCristal, that girl, she's fine. She got our love journey. I need to talk to you later.
Can't argue with that one.
I need to hang up. Okay, bye.
Can't argue with that last statement. She is fine.
Just,
I Love Journey by the fine, beautiful Puerto Rican queen, ZapCristal. We also have available I Love Journey from yours truly, TeeJay the Gamer. Both available to purchase and ship directly to you, a physical copy.
It is beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous. So
which you guys will be seeing B-roll of it by the way right now.
Yeah, somewhere here, there, somewhere around there. You put it in there somewhere.
Once we figure out post-production.
So yeah, definitely go check out masterswordmusic.com. We also have an email list where you can find out about all the albums dropping, all the videos dropping, any up-to-date information, all things Master Sword Music at masterswordmusic.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Now we get to do our hot takes now?
We get to do our hot takes. Let's go back because this one, we're going to be quite divisive. You and I might clash on this one.
Let's get it.
Okay, so Pavement. By the way, I love your username. By the way, it's Pavement and Beer O'Clock and RDR.
Nice.
which stands for Retro Death Row.
Okay.
Yeah.
Retro Death Row.
Yeah, RDR. Yeah.
I like that.
That's
okay.
pretty dope.
Pretty cool.
So he said that a game that he considers overrated and boring is Chrono Trigger.
Overrated and boring.
I'm trying to see his reaction. I'm trying to see TJ's reaction because I know how much this
I try
game...
to be objective. Overrated, I can agree with that.
Okay.
It is the standard about which all other RPGs follow.
Okay, so let's do this. Why don't you let me start it off?
Do your thing.
Since I've played it now as an adult. And to be fair, I haven't finished the game. So I'm only going to speak to what I completed, which I guess is halfway through the game.
Yeah.
Or close to the end?
A little bit more than half.
A little bit more than half.
About 3/4 way through.
So maybe 85%?
Yeah.
So I have the right to talk.
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay, perfect. So me playing it as an adult, I have to say, I love the game. Music, let's not even go there because it's gonna be
soundtrack of all time.
It's gonna be another hour. Graphically, it's stunning, and I'm like blown away by everything you can do. Once again, because me knowing where it was first created, which is obviously the SNES, to now seeing it, now as an adult in 2024, I'm like, wow, how did they do it? I don't know. Besides also being, I guess, well, I might be wrong there, but whatever. I'm just talking from the top of my head. I consider it maybe being the first game where it stems into so many different, it branches out into so many different stories and so many different quests and side quests. So you can really approach this game in any way you see fit. So that's remarkable, especially once again, coming from the SNES. But I want to say, I wouldn't say boring. I would say I found it a little bit tedious. And this is where I'm coming from. And it has nothing to do with reading, which if you guys already thought it was going to be about reading, no, that's actually not it.
Because there's actually not that much dialogue.
Yeah. For me, it was more so, I feel like it was lacking in giving you cues. Like, I wish it would kind of low-key be a little bit more linear, because we had to look up a walkthrough to know where we needed to go, what we needed to do to trigger a certain scene and move forward with the story. So if I was playing this by myself without your help, I would have quit this game sooner than later, because the moment I'm stuck and didn't know where to go or who to talk to or what to do, that would just have frustrated me and would have ruined my entire experience as a gamer. So I'm trying to be objective here about it.
That's fair. That I will say that is fair. But then for me, when I think about these games, I don't try to think about them in the modern era. I think about the games in that moment. And did any games really give you directions back in those days? Not really. Most games did not be like, oh, you go here to do this and you go here to do that. That's more of a modern convention, more about convenience. And certain people like that and certain people don't. That's why there's certain people who like older games and some people who like newer games.
Gotcha.
Because in that era, there was no rules or saying that you have to have a waypoint or you have to have some kind of guidance to tell you where to go. Most of those games were designed in a way to be playable for long periods of time. So they were designed in a way so that everything wouldn't be obvious, because you wouldn't just go from point A to point B, because it was we want you to figure it out and have fun and explore and get lost in this world. And they were designed with that way in mind. So people who play, I would have to ask, when did they try to play it? Is this a person that's playing it in the modern era? Because they might be like, oh man, I'm used to games where there's a map that points you directly to the direction of your objective and you just go there, It wasn't really designed with that in mind. This is an SNES game. So I can understand that every game has flaws. I'm not saying that it's a perfect game. by any means whatsoever. But to say overrated and boring,
and let me be fair.
I can't really agree.
Yeah, before you pitch in, because we've had this discussion off camera.
Yeah.
And I'll just say it openly since we're on this podcast.
Yeah, go for it.
I think what ruined it for me, and we've talked about this, is the fact that not only I was trying to play a game for the first time and looking up a walkthrough with you, but the fact that we were live streaming it.
Yeah.
And I think if I give this game a chance and I play it while not live streaming, maybe my experience would have been a lot better. Because let's face it, when you're live streaming, and those who live stream completely, you're going to get what I mean. You have this pressure that you need to speed up things. You know, there got to be a certain flow because you're entertaining the viewers, you're trying to engage with the community, but then you're also trying to get through this game as quickly as possible. So, you know, if you're a variety streamer like I am, because I consider myself a variety streamer,
Facts.
You're trying to go through this game as quickly as possible because you want to go to the next game. Mm-hmm. You know, so like Chrono Trigger is a game that you can't really like rush through it. Like it forces you.
At the end of the day, people have to realize that it is a semi-open world RPG.
Yeah.
Which means it's meant to be played over a long period of time, sessions here and there. You're not supposed to sit down and play the game all in one sitting. Yeah. That's not how that game was designed to be played.
And we did pretty cool. Like we did really good. Because like
but
you said,
it does take away from the experience, I will
say.
It's one of those games you're supposed to just sit down with and, you know, play for an hour or two here and get to the next thing and figure out things and explore things. It's not meant to be played like a modern game. Like I said, in most modern games, there's a lot of like, go here. This is your point. This is your objective. Do this, do that. Come here, come back. It wasn't really designed with that in mind. And somebody who doesn't play a lot of RPGs or do it, like I would like to ask this person more questions. Like, do you like RPGs in general? Because it might be a person that says, no, I don't really play a lot of RPGs. Boom. I can understand where you're coming from a lot better. Because if you're like me and you love RPGs, you're used to spending 40, 50, 60 hours playing one game. So it's like, for me, it's not a problem because I grew up playing games like Final Fantasy VII and like games that can take hundreds of hours if you took the time to do everything, you know. So it's like there's different strokes for different folks, you know. Like I know you're not a big RPG person,
no.
So I wouldn't sit you down with a game like Final Fantasy. So
you would be surprised because lately you've said that I've played way more RPGs than I thought.
Yeah, there are some games that you could play, but they tend to fit into a certain category.
Yeah,
like you tend to like more actiony RPG games than like your
or turn-based
stuff like that. Because Chrono Trigger is technically a turn-based.
Yeah,
it's like it's ATB. It's a long story. We're not gonna get into details, but pretty much turn-based. And I know all the RPG heads gonna be like, no, it's not turn-based. It's ATB. I know. Yeah. Simplifying.
Well, they have two modes, to be fair.
It does have a turn-based mode where you can...
but which is how we played it.
Yeah. But, you know, like I said, certain people don't like those kind of games. Some people don't like spending 30, 40 hours on a game. Some people like those games that's like a 5-6 hour experience or 3 or 4 hour experience. Yeah. And so... it really depends on the individual. So I can't even really be mad at you because I need to know more. Like if you tell me you're a big RPG fan and you play every RPG, then all right, then I'm going to be like, all right, you're just wrong now. now we got something to actually argue about.
But we don't really know where this person is.
So I can't really be mad at somebody who doesn't like it because I can say like, all right, if you're not into long, you know, difficult RPGs, then all right, I get it. Chrono Trigger might not be a game for you, but I bet you I can find an RPG that you will like if you tell me what kind of games you play.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for everybody, but as far as RPGs go, it is one of the most pinnacle RPGs that ever came out. Like there's so many games that copy that formula, that try to be what that game was, story-wise, gameplay-wise. So I disagree, but I understand.
Yeah. I made it a goal that at some point I'm going to sit down and play Chrono Trigger again. And I might have to start it from the beginning because it is what it is. It's been a while.
Yeah, we haven't played it in a minute.
But I want to make it a goal to play it not live streamed. And I think that's my hot take. Like one of my many hot takes before I jump into my real hot takes. I think that sometimes live streaming takes away from the gaming experience. And
it definitely does. I agree 100%.
I feel like there's just games that even if people request for me to play it live, I've made it a rule that if it's a game I really, really love, I'm not going to play it live.
Facts. You will never see me play a Zelda game live.
Yeah.
Ever.
Because it's just going to ruin your experience.
I tried it. I even tried it with a game that I've already played before, thinking that would help.
Yeah.
I tried to do a live stream of Ocarina of Time once, and it just
did not go well.
It wasn't. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't having fun. So like, I will never play a Zelda game live. It's just never gonna happen. And those are for me.
And to be clear, like, I don't want the viewers to think like, oh, streamers just play games they don't want to play. No, we get to play games we want to play.
It's just certain games are special.
We keep to ourselves.
And are for me. You know, like a Zelda game for me is like an event, you know?
Yeah.
Like when that new actual Zelda game comes out pretty soon. There's no way I'm going to be able to live stream now because I'm going to want to take my time and explore and see all the things and do all the things and learn all the mechanics. And unfortunately, that's just not as fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, I think what most people forget is that we also have to be entertaining.
So you have to streamline your content.
Yeah, we have to be entertaining while we're playing.
And it's even harder because it's live.
Yeah, so it's like it's not entertaining to watch me look into every single box or every single pot to find money.
Unless, to be fair, because like I said, I'm talking from a stance as a variety streamer. But if you're just a streamer that you play this one game, then it's understanding. You know, people are coming every session.
Yeah, but those are usually a certain kind of games, though, like Fortnite, where these are like quick games where you can just play and do your thing. Overwatch.
Or your cozy gamers.
Yeah, cozy games. Like a cozy game I can see because that is pretty much the point of the game.
Yeah.
Is to do all the things and, you know, that's the point of the game. But a game like Zelda isn't that really. It's just me being a completionist, you know? It's not me. It's not the way the game is designed. The game is designed is for you to go play it and get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going to explore. I'm going to want to talk to all the NPCs, get all the lore, do all the research, figure this out. How does this work? That is this thing. And after a while, that's not as entertaining to watch as somebody just playing the game. People just want to see the thing, you know?
Exactly. So, you know, that's my hot take about that. And I'm actually going to jump into something I posted on my thread. I'm going to share my hot take.
Okay.
This is not necessarily negative. This is more so a request. So I don't even know if I would consider this a hot take.
Okay, go for it.
I strongly believe that we need more spin-off games where it involves solo characters. And I've talked about this before.
Nope.
So I'm bringing it back up again. And examples like these are, for example, Bowser, Rosalina, Yoshi,
Wario.
You know, I feel like, and then I know some people are going to be like, well, there's already games for some of them, you know, on the handheld and blah, blah, blah. No, but I'm talking about like a full blown out like video game on the Switch dedicated to this character, where this character is the main character.
Like Peach's Showtime.
Like Peach's Showtime. Exactly. I'm like,
by the way, that game.
And I'm talking specifically about Nintendo because Nintendo is the king of
franchises,
having just great IP. So like,
and the funny thing is now they seem to be doing that. Because you got the Princess Peach game, and now we're getting the Zelda game.
With Zelda. So I'm like, okay, are we heading in the right direction? Are they starting to listen now to the community? It seems
like it, man, because now we're getting a Zelda game where you play as Zelda. Then you got the Peach game that just came out pretty soon. Then they brought back Luigi's Mansion where you play as Luigi. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. Nintendo kind of seem to be like, they might be reaching in the bag a little bit.
Because I know for Mario 3D World, they did a DLC where it was called Bowser Fury.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, dedicated to Bowser and Bowser Jr. But I'm like, can you just take it out of a DLC and just give me a game? Because Lego does it. Lego did it with what's it called? Lego Villains or something like that. And it was so much fun. Like, some of us want to play as the villain. So can you give us...
Bro.
Yeah.
If they ever give me a Zelda game where you could play as Ganondorf...
I think there's so much potential. There is so much potential.
Bro, let me be Ganondorf, bro. That would be the illest Zelda game ever.
I say, and I'm just using some of my favorite characters because, like Rosalina, we know give me a Daisy game.
Funny thing is, Rosalina has not been in a game since the Galaxy games.
Interesting.
Not in none of the mainline. Like, she's been in like the Mario Karts and stuff like that. But she has actually not reappeared since Galaxy 2.
Interesting.
So it would be really interesting to see them bring her back in any way, honestly.
Yeah, I'm like, can you bring me like a Daisy game where you play as Daisy?
I already got an idea for that. I think I might have talked to you about this before, but I think that they should expand on the Princess Peach game that they did and make it a co-op game where you play as Peach and Daisy.
Yeah, agree. Because Bowser and not Bowser, Mario and Luigi has their own series, which they're bringing back.
I think they should, like, if they did like a Princess Peach Showtime 2, like bring that game back, make it co-op, and make Daisy the second player.
It'd be epic. Which, speaking of, somebody agreed with my hot take, and Elblermatic said, and I'm going to read it. I didn't quite understand it, but maybe reading it out loud, I'll get it. He said, Sega and Nintendo did more games with their anti-heroes for the video games, but we see fewer games with them.
Oh yeah. Like Nintendo did, because they used to have like like I said, Wario used to have his own games. Like he had Wario Land, he had the WarioWare games. They had the what was the other one? I can't think about it now. But like they used to like they're like not evil characters, but like the anti-heroes. The anti-heroes.
So Waluigi.
Shadow the Hedgehog would be one of them from the Sega games. Like they used, like Shadow had his own game at one point, but once again, they're kind of bringing that back because now Shadow is going to be in the new Sonic movie. So that's interesting. But like we haven't got a new Wario Land game. Like, he used to have his own like platformer series. And you don't really see those as much anymore. They used to like take those like side characters and let them have one. Like some of them haven't even got games at all. Like Waluigi has never gotten one.
Yeah, which is something people have requested over the years.
Oh yeah, a lot of people want Waluigi. They wanted him to be in Smash Brothers, and like that just didn't happen.
They're like, nope.
So it's like Nintendo has a lot to work with, man. Like Yoshi always gets his games, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. He always get the Willy Worlds and all that kind of stuff. And it would be really dope to see them take some of their other characters and spin them off into their own games. Yeah. It would be very interesting to see, especially in I'm going to be biased, but
which was why I was excited about Peach's Showtime, because the only other game Peach has been and have existed as a main character.
The DS game, right?
It was the DS game. So Super Princess Peach.
Yeah.
Which actually I made a video about it. So if you guys have no clue, you can go watch it, because I did like a full review about Super Princess Peach. And then I made another video where I compared Super Princess Peach with Peach's Showtime. Because J-Love, my sis from Another Mister, actually was curious about that. So we actually did a video on it. So yeah, definitely check it out. But yeah, that's the only other game.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to count like the little, what's it called? The Game & Watch thing.
Yeah.
Because that's more, I consider that more a toy. So that really doesn't count. We're talking about like a game that you can play from a console.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah. It would be dope to see them like have other characters join. Like I said, it would be dope. I don't know how they would pull it off, but it would like, if even expanding that idea, having all the princesses together, like
that's what I was thinking, like Peach, a princess fusion.
Yeah, Peach,
Rosalina,
and Daisy.
Daisy.
That would be dope if they had like a game where they all work together and do something. Yeah. Like that'll be super dope.
I think it would be dope, or just all the female video game characters. Like throw Zelda in there. Why not?
That'd be dope.
Just all the worlds merged.
I would love to see a crossover game like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't really done like a crossover game.
Yeah.
Like I think we talked about this before, but I would love a game where Bowser and Ganondorf like come together to try to beat Mario and Link.
Which we'll be talking about in another episode.
That would be super fire to like. Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Can I go to my hot take now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go to my hot take.
Yeah.
And I already talked about what you thought I was going to say.
Which surprised me, because I thought you were going to actually talk about
this is actually based off a conversation I had with my bros not too long ago, Thousand Star Katetsu. I mean, we had a conversation, and I brought up something, and they both actually agreed with me.
Okay.
And I'm going to see how you feel, and I want to know how you guys feel in the comments, but this is how I feel.
Okay. Shoot.
Here we go. Y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Ready to eat. Controversy. AAA gaming is dead.
Okay.
I think that AAA gaming is dead. And I say that because it doesn't have the same impact that it used to have. I don't think as many people care about these AAA super expensive killer titles as much as they used to.
Interesting. Gotcha.
Think about it. Most of the games that you and I have been playing recently are indies.
Mm-hmm.
Or like lower budget, smaller titles.
Smaller studios.
Yeah. Like, and when I say AAA games, I'm talking about like the big money spenders.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, what are you referring to when you talk about AAA games?
I'm talking about super expensive, all money,
high
low expenses, like Starfield
or
Cyberpunk. Yeah, those I would consider those like AAA games. Like,
okay,
all expenses, all in, best graphics.
We're not talking about exclusivity.
No, we're not talking about exclusivity. I'm talking about super expensive, super fidelity graphics.
It went all out.
All out, all in, 100%. And there's still some out there that do well, but I just don't think, like, I remember at one point that used to be like it.
Yeah.
Like when the AAA game comes out, everybody's buying it.
It was that one thing you waited for the entire year.
Yeah, and I don't think they have the same impact that they used to have.
I agree.
And I think there are reasons for that.
Okay, share some of them.
One is what I just said earlier, the rise of indie games.
Okay.
Where some of these indie games, which are much lower budget and less expensive, are doing way better.
Yeah.
Like recently we went to the Stardew Valley concert. It
was so good.
And they told, I forgot exactly what the number was, but they told us how many copies that game has sold.
I'm actually going to look it up.
And the number of titles that game has sold outsold some AAA games. Matter of fact, that game is doing so well that he continues to update it for free. It has his own orchestra and concert. And I'm pretty sure there are AAA games that can't even hit those kind of numbers. You have games like Ori and Will of the Wisp.
Okay, so apparently, as of February 2024, the indie game Stardew Valley has sold over 30 million copies across all platforms. That's accounting, of course, PC as
Switch.
The majority of the sales, because just PC by itself is 19 million.
Yeah, because the PC, I think, is where it started. And then it got ported to everything else.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that's an indie game.
30 million.
From Concern.
Like I said, there's some AAA games that don't even hit 2 or 3.
And this is a game that's been out for years.
And it's still selling. And he's doing concerts and shows and merch. And this was just one guy.
One guy, Eric, which is insane. Shout out to Eric, by
Shout
the
out to, Concern 8. You killing it, bro.
Yeah.
So the rise of indies is really eating out of it. Like I said, games like Ori and Will of the Wisp, which I just played recently, and it's a phenomenal game.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, because this blew my mind.
What?
It says not only did it surpass selling over, which at that time was 20 million copies, it said it's generating revenue upwards of $300 million.
Oh, yeah, easy. Easy.
Which makes sense if they're doing even a tour.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got the tour, and like, think about the games, and yeah, like.
But yeah, continue what you were saying. But
so I'm saying the game was like $20? $20 times 30 million, yeah.
And all the DLC is free. Every single DLC update they make is free.
Yeah, so like the rise of indie, and there's way more success stories than that. You know what I'm saying? Like even if we go back before that, Minecraft was technically a indie game when it started.
Yeah. Like
Microsoft came in and bought it later from Mojang, but that was just a couple of guys making games out of blocks, you know? And that game, I think to this day, one of the highest selling games of all time.
There's a lot of games that just became mainstream, but they technically started. Another perfect example, which I had talked about before, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's, yeah, that's another one. Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight.
Blew. It was like one of the first ones that really like blew.
Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Bendy and the Ink Machine
became mainstream.
Like I said, Ori Will of the Wisp. There's a lot of games.
Fall Guys, I think.
Yeah, Fall Guys. Yep, Fall Guys start. Yep. And so indie games are coming into a space now where it's like we can make games cheaper, we can make games faster, and they can still make a crap ton of money. So that kind of takes away from AAA. And then these AAA games come out and they don't sell nowhere near as well. They're very expensive to make and they don't get a return on that investment. So it's like it doesn't hit the same. You know what I'm saying? There are AAA games that don't sell as good as Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the reasons why AAA gaming is dying. The second reason I think AAA gaming is dying is just the sheer amount of them. There are just too many AAA games and just games in general. Like there's just not everybody can buy every AAA game that comes out. If I bought every AAA game that came out, first of all, I wouldn't even be able to play them all, and it would be a lot of money. Like, you know what I'm saying? You had in 1 year, you had like Starfield, you had
MK, I think was coming.
MK, Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8.
It's like back to back.
Then you got I don't even know if I would consider this new Zelda game a AAA now, why not? But Tears of the Kingdom would be a AAA.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many of them. And it's like, at this point, it's like, bro, I can't play all that. And most of these games are like, several hours to play. Oh, Resident Evil, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's too much. So you have to pick and choose the ones you really have to play, which means you're only going to pick the ones that really, really, really grab you. Like, I think, let's see, this year.
Well, for us, it's a different story because, thanks to the Xbox, we have Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah,
so we've
but
been
a lot of those games I wouldn't consider AAA either, though. Mm-hmm. Because when I'm like that new Capcom game that came out, the one I forgot the exact name of it, but the
Japanese one, Japanese.
I wouldn't consider that a AAA game.
No, I wouldn't consider it either.
I wouldn't consider that a AAA game, but it's really
beautiful.
Good. But I love it, and I'm playing the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So like a lot of those games, like when I'm talking about AAA, I'm talking about those in your face, front of the box, like I said, Street Fighter 6, a Resident Evil game. Like whenever Resident Evil 9 comes out, that's going to be a AAA. A Monster Hunter, like a Mario or a Zelda, like a mainstream, like a mainline Zelda game. Like, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about AAA. It's like you said, Cyberpunk, Starfield, No Man's Sky. Like, those are what I would call AAA, all expenses in kind of games. And a lot of the games that I've been playing on Game Pass, I would not consider that.
It's called Kunitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess.
Path of the Goddess, yeah.
That's the name.
Excellent game, by the way. Definitely would recommend. Not a AAA title. You can tell Capcom just kind of made this as a little side project kind of thing. And they didn't it's not like a front of the box. Like, it's not their Resident Evil. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to Capcom, AAA titles are Resident Evil, Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Facts.
Those are their AAA games.
So, when we talk about AAA games, we're talking more so about the mainstream games.
Yeah,
like what made them popular.
The ones that sell, the ones that bring in the money.
Yeah.
The ones that they spend the money on. Because I wouldn't, honestly, might be a little bit of a hot take, I don't know if I would consider Street Fighter 6 a AAA game.
No, not necessarily.
Because Street Fighter, I would say in the past it was. Like Street Fighter 2 would have been their AAA game back in the day. But Street Fighter have kind of fallen off a little bit. And Street Fighter 6 was more of trying to get it back to that point. Now, I think the next Street Fighter game they do, they're going to go all in. Because of the success of Street Fighter 6, they're going to go all the way in on the next one.
Yeah, because this one was kind of like Nintendo's Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to bring it back. We're trying to do something new, bring it back, and let's see how it goes. And it's doing quite well. So now I think, all right, we're going to bring it back. But I would say for Capcom, it would be Monster Hunter and Resident Evil.
Yeah, and not because I'm a Capcom creator, but I definitely would suggest people trying out the Kunitsu Gami game.
It's really good.
Based on what I'm reading, it's a Japanese-inspired single-player campaign, and they consider it to be an action strategy game.
Yeah, it mixes like action. It mixes like action, RPG, and like RTS games. Like it's really interesting, the gameplay and like how they mix like strategy and action and RPG elements and some base building stuff as well. Like it's really jam packed.
I've seen you play it and it looks really interesting.
It's
gruesomely beautiful.
Yeah, it's like ugly. It's the most beautiful ugly game I've ever seen.
Like, how do you do that?
It is so ugly but so beautiful at the same time. It's beautifully ugly.
Yeah. I feel like we need a part 2 to hot takes because now I'm starting to think about all these things I've seen on social media that I'm really curious in knowing like what you think about it and stuff like that.
We definitely got to bring this one back.
It's been phenomenal, and I like shout out to the community because let's go to our pause segment.
All right,
let's go to pause.
So we're gonna just go over there real quick.
Let's pause.
All right, you guys are not gonna see it, but we're just all right. Peace out. We'll see you later.
So in our pause segment, let's pause. Okay. Right. Let's give out a shout out to the community. This was the very first time we do an episode where we're just reacting to y'all's comments.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed it quite a bit actually.
It was fun, it was different, and I just love seeing different points of view.
Yeah, I agree. It was really fun. You guys tried to trigger me, but I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you guys get me. You know,
which I really thought.
Talking about two of my favorite games of all time. Y'all thought y'all was gonna get me, but I can be objective too. Okay.
Let me dry my tear.
Try harder next time. Okay, you ain't gonna get me. Okay. Only way you could get me is by saying that Elden Ring is the greatest game of all time.
I do have one hot take.
Okay, what's that?
Resident Evil 4 sucks.
Original or remake?
Original.
Okay, that's fine.
And you know which one sucks? This is for Katetsu. Hold up, let me
What, One Piece Odyssey?
One Piece Odyssey.
Or Tales of Symphonia.
Or both. Or Persona. Okay, hold up.
Persona.
We're gonna get people angry here. Anyways. But yeah, shout out to everyone. It was super fun, and do expect more episodes like this. Me and TeeJay, either on my page or on his page, we're gonna be dropping a forum or a thread every once in a while. We're gonna be dropping a question for the week, and then you guys can participate in it. We're gonna compile those comments, and then who knows, your comment might be highlighted in the next podcast episode. So
yes,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes,
but speaking about milestones and achievements,
okay.
Let's talk about how the podcast is doing so far, because this is already season 3.
Season 3.
So for those that are just jumping into it and they're new, you know, what can we say about the podcast?
Well, like she mentioned, this is season 3. So if you are new to the Reset and Zap podcast, you should go back and check out seasons 1 and 2. We got plenty of content for you to feast upon, hours and hours of these kind of conversations. And we want to thank you guys for checking us out and following and leaving your comments and your descriptions. The podcast is doing amazing, and we are growing with each and every season. And just to, put it out there, just a little flex a little bit. We are now an internationally known podcast.
Worldwide.
We are.
Can I do it?
Go ahead.
Worldwide podcast.
We are in 92 cities and 17 countries.
17 countries. That blows my mind.
Yeah, it's absolute. You guys have all around the world have been listening, and we truly appreciate it. It is great to see so much interaction from around the world. Big shout out to the US, of course, our biggest fan base.
UK, Canada,
Hong Japan, Hong Kong, Puerto Rico, of course.
The
Netherlands, Germany. Like it's been crazy to see you guys reacting and responding, and we are very, very happy. Also, big shout out to all our listeners on Spotify, which is our number one platform currently at the moment.
Insane.
Spotify has been lighting it up, but we also want to give shout out to Apple Podcasts, and there's so many other platforms that you guys. Deezer, for our UK people, it's Deezer. There's Google Podcasts. There's
crazy.
iTunes. Pretty much everywhere where podcasts are streamed, somebody's listening. Amazon is another one. iHeart.
That blew my mind recently. Now you brought up Amazon. I know we're available everywhere, but I just downloaded Audible.
Oh yeah, we're also available on Audible. That is correct.
So I didn't know they offered podcasts, and I searched us up, and we show up.
Yeah, we are also on audible.com. So if you're on Audible or you use Audible, you can also get Reset and Zap there as well.
It's amazing.
This is, like you said, this is season 3. I can't remember what number episode this is at this point.
I don't know at this point.
So we got a pretty few. We got a nice, healthy library of content for you to go back and listen to. We are very, very happy to be doing this, and we're continuing to grow, continuing to improve our setup, and getting our audio better and getting our video better. We're going to be taking things to the next level. So we want you guys to continue to watch, continue to like, drop those comments, give us your suggestions. We are going all in on this podcast.
Yeah, especially don't hesitate in leaving us. Depending on what podcast platform you're on, you can either rate the show or you can drop your reviews. And believe me, we do read those reviews.
Oh yes, we do.
Because that's why we're constantly improving and tweaking the content so it's more enjoyable for you guys every day, but it's also easier for us.
Yeah, and share this podcast with somebody you know. People who are into gaming, people who are not into gaming. We talk about all things. It's not just gaming here.
Yeah.
We talk about content creation. We talk about work, life, kids, anything. This is the place where, as we can say, reset
and zap for the week.
Yeah, that's why we are here. So thank you guys so much for all the love. There's going to be so much more to come. The podcast is doing amazing, and we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep this thing. We got something good going here, so let's keep it going.
Yeah, you can listen to it on the go while exercising, on your way to work, taking care of your kids, and so much more. And if you want to take it to the next level and you want to see the visuals, then you can go to YouTube/ZapCristal, and we have our playlist over there for the podcast where you can see us while we're having these discussions as well.
Yeah, you should definitely come look at us. We ain't do all this set building for nothing now. Come on.
I know, right?
Come look at us.
Yeah, look at us. But
you don't want to see our beautiful faces?
You want to connect the face to the voice.
Yeah, I think we look pretty good, man. You should come look at us.
Internationally. Worldwide.
Yeah, man. It's mind blowing. It's when I went to go look at our numbers and looking at all the cities and all the countries we were listed in, I was like, wow, this is insanity.
It really is. From where we started to where the idea for the podcast was created to where we are at right now. I knew we were gonna do well. I just didn't know.
I knew we were gonna do well. I just didn't know we would do well so quickly.
Yeah.
Cause most podcasts,
is just a year old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's most of the time you don't really catch into a podcast until it's 200-300 episodes in. And you're like, man, where has this podcast been? It just came, and then you go back and you watch all that stuff. But for us to be on season 3 and only be maybe 20 or 30 episodes
I think
in,
we're 25 episodes in or
something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah. And to already be getting the love that we're getting is absolutely phenomenal. So let's just keep it going, man. Let's build this community up, and let's take this podcast to the next level, peeps.
And you guys know the drill. As always, I want to remind you to reset and zap for the week. Bye.
Peace.